Alright, so like I said, these are Risso's dolphin. They are a little bit larger than the bottlenose dolphin that we can see off of our coast. People are probably most familiar with. If you look at them, you'll see they've got that kind of rounded or blunt head and a real tall dorsal fin. Occasionally they do get mistaken for orca. Much smaller than orca though. Oh, that was pretty cool. Sometimes they're real mellow. A couple of them jumping out of the water here off the starboard side. I wouldn't really say we have, oh, there's a sea lion over there too. I wouldn't really say we have a season for them. But when we do see them, you know there's pretty much squid in the area. They feed mainly on squid. Kind of a cool little story. We had the Dana Wharf annual fishing trip for the crew members this year. We were off the island of San Clemente Island, and we were actually fishing a squid bed, but all these Rissos were inside, real shallow, like 100 feet of water, feeding on the squid as we were fishing in the middle of the night. It was kind of cool, early morning. But you'll see a lot of scars on them. They get break marks from other animals, also from those squid. But like all dolphin, they are toothed whales. Like all toothed whales, they've got their echolocation. They've got a single blowhole on their head. They also all have a space inside of their head. They create their echolocation signals in that space in their head. They squeeze air through that space, creating those signals. The signals then pass through the melon. The melon is a lipid-filled sac, which works like a lens. So either focus all those signals like a laser, or spread them all out like a fan. The signals go out to the surroundings, reflect off any object back to the animal. Lower jaw, working like an antenna, gathers up that information, those different signals. The mandibular nerves will transfer the information back to their brain, and then they can decipher the signals and create a detailed mental image of the object. But the gray whales, kind of surprisingly, and somewhat impressively too, they really don't feed once they leave the Pacific Northwest, so they're fasting for the majority of this migration. Especially females, which are giving birth to a 1-ton baby, feeding that baby their milk, not feeding themselves, they can lose maybe 1/3 of their body weight during this annual migration. But when they do their feeding up north, they feed off the bottom. So they feed on amphipods, tube worms, brittle stars, and flatfish live down in the mud and the silt. And so in those feeding grounds, they dive down, turn either on their left or their right side. They scoop up that bottom sediment. They'll close their mouths just enough that the baleen touches their lower jaw. They push the water through the baleen. The food won't go through, and then they use their big tongue to push it down their throat. But the gray whales, like other baleen whales, use that baleen like a strainer. But a very unique thing about gray whales is because they feed off the bottom, that's different than other baleen whales. All of the baleen whales feed on different organisms that are free swimming in the water column. So like the anchovy or the sardines, maybe even squid, red crab, krill. But the gray whale is the only ones that feed off the bottom like that. Makes it pretty unique. You can see Mark's drone here flying over the surface of the water. A little bit deceiving. We only really see a fraction of their bodies, how large these animals are. So these are definitely adult-sized gray whales. We see a small fraction of their body, but with that drone footage, especially when the conditions are like this, real clear water, calm conditions, you can see the full length of their body from tip to tail. But definitely a cool perspective, that aerial perspective you can get with the drone. Whalers actually gave gray whales kind of an ironic nickname. They started calling them devilfish. They gave them that nickname because the whalers figured out if they would harpoon small calves, it wasn't necessarily worth their time to harpoon the small calves and harvest them because they didn't yield very much. But they would harpoon them. Sometimes when they did so, the larger females would come closer to their boats, and those large females really were the animals that they were targeting. So sometimes they'd harpoon the small calves, the large females would come closer just like they wanted. But the females were so upset that their calves got harpooned that they'd smash the whalers' boats in all these little pieces. So ironically, they started calling them devilfish. Probably should have named them angelfish because they were just protecting their young. But what's interesting now in those very same lagoons, these gray whales actually approach little boats, little pangas with people in them. Some of them will come right over to the boats, bringing their calves over even. But they get so close to these boats that people can reach over the rail and touch and pet them. So it's very unusual behavior, really only observed by gray whales, and really only when they're down in those lagoons. But that willingness to approach boats has given them probably a much more fitting nickname, the friendlies or friendly whales. I think they may have turned in a little bit here. You can see Mark's drone. Yeah, it looks like they're coming up. 1 o'clock. All right, guys. So when we see these animals, typically they're traveling like this. It's definitely more on the unusual side to see 4 animals traveling together. But for the most part, you can see they just kind of keep traveling, keep moving. They travel, like I said, about 100 miles in a day. It takes them about 2 months just to go one direction. But oftentimes they kind of get into this rhythm or pattern. They'll come up, take a series of breaths, dive down. I'll get some great fluke shots at these as well. But make sure those cameras are firing here. Probably after the next cycle, we might have to start pointing towards home. We're a long ways from home still. But definitely thankful to have this encounter here with these northbound gray whales today, because it's definitely been a challenging season along the beach. Alright guys, we're going to ease out of here. So we got a ways to go